let's see some of the strategies we can use to place our decimal point in our product when we multiply a decimal by a decimal. The first strategy we can use is estimation. And we take a look at this problem, 7 and 8500ths times 3 and 3/10. And we ask ourselves, how can we estimate these two numbers or these two factors? Well, if I look at 7 and 8500ths, I think about where it is on the number line, and I know it's close to the number 8. So I'm going to estimate that number to 8. 3 and 3/10, well, on the number line, I know it's close to 3, so I'll estimate that to 3. And when I multiply these two numbers, I get a product of 24, which becomes my estimated product. So I know when I solve the true problem, my true product needs to be close to this estimated product of 24. We know when we multiply decimals, we multiply as if the decimal didn't exist, multiplied as if it were whole numbers. And it just makes a more complex problem much more simpler. So if I multiply these two numbers, I get my first partial product, I get my next partial product, and then I add up these two partial products to get my true product. But wait, that looks like a really large number. It almost appears as if it would become 25,905, and that just doesn't make sense. Look at these numbers I'm dealing with. I estimated my product to be 24, so I need to figure out where can I place this decimal point in order to make this product become a value that's close to 24. If I place it here, would that become a value close to 24? No, that's 2,590 and 5/10. That's not close to 24. If I move it here, now it becomes 259 and 5/100ths, and that's not close to 24. What if I place it here? Ooh, that looks like a great fit. Now I have 25 and 905 thousandths. And I know 25 is a reasonable product to have because 25 is close to my estimated product of 24. So that's definitely the correct spot for my decimal in this problem. Let's take a look at another strategy we can use. We can use place value to help us determine where we would place our decimal point. And again, when we're multiplying decimals, we multiply as if they were whole numbers, and we forget about that decimal point for a while. And we get two partial products when we're multiplying. And then we add up those two partial products to get this final product. But because we have decimals in our factors, we need to make sure we put that decimal back in our product. So what appears to be 1,219 really doesn't make sense in this case. So we need to figure out where we're going to put our decimal point. And let's use place value. How many place values do you see behind the decimal point here? I see one decimal place value. How many decimal place values do you see behind this decimal point? I see one decimal place value. Now add up all your decimal place values. If I have one decimal place value here and another decimal place value, I have two in total. So I need two decimal places in my product. Where can I place that decimal point? If I place my decimal point here, I only have one decimal place value. If I place my decimal point here, now I have two decimal place values, which matches what I counted up in my factors. So that must be the correct spot. 1, 2, 1, 2. So the true product is 12 and 1900ths. Hey, you can even use estimation in this case to double check that you're right. 2 and 3/10 would estimate to 2. 5 and 3/10 would estimate to 5. And I would get an estimated product of 10. And I can double check this strategy as well. 10 I know is close to 12, so that's definitely a reasonable product, and I've double checked my work. Great strategy. If we look at this last problem, we see how sometimes when you're multiplying decimals, things don't always go the way as planned. So let's take a look. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 0 is 0. There's no other numbers to multiply in this case. So let's count up our decimal place values. I have 1, 2, two numbers behind my decimal here. I have one number behind my decimal here. If I add up all these decimal place values, I see that in my final product, I need to have 3 decimal place values. But there's a problem. Do you see it? I only have 2 numbers here. What can I do to make 3 decimal place values? I have to think for a second. What do I know about multiplying decimals when there's no whole numbers? I know when I multiply a decimal by a decimal, my product gets smaller. So where am I going to put that, where am I going to add a number to make sure that this product gets smaller? Well, I'm going to add a 0 because 0 will allow us to shift and bump the numbers one place value over to the right to get 10 times smaller. So I'm going to annex this 0 right here. And now I'm going to check if I have 3 decimal place values so I can place that decimal. Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to take this decimal and I'm going to place it right here so I can make sure I have 3 decimal place values just as I counted 1, 2, 3 in my factors for a total of 3 decimal places. So what appeared to be 800ths is truly 8 thousandths. And my product got much, much smaller than what I started with. So there you have it. You have 2 strategies you can use, estimation or place value, to help you place that decimal point in the correct spot. Which will you choose?